Demonstration in intelligence. Don't get excited, okay? First time I picked it up, 2023. Yeah. I'm gonna put on 85 beats a minute, Shadowville Productions, regular beat, and freestyle whatever. Now the men of mine fable of the turntide table of the moon when it's spinning around earth and it's enabled. It's got a place to be on the first week of the month when it's September, October 2023. The stump. Now you see the places on the map, mine Mabel. When you get the fish, they're large upon the table, about 240 pounds on September in the first, on the first week of October, on the second week of birth. That's the shit you see about 20 years later on a halibut that landed on your table. That's about 240 pounds of about an inch thick, and if you got the right round, 100 will do it. 110 is about the fucking perfect size and plate. When you get the halibut upon your plate upon the state, that's end up in Alaska and the information you know about a tide table and how the worth and how it flows. But that's the little rhyme when the reason of the actual calculation of the time and the season. That's how low the tide goes, so the boat goes out, then you get the fish out the motherfucking mouth. Now you got the book, that got the table, got the skill. When you get it out the boat and then you get it fucking killed. That's all the shit we do every fucking day. That's Alaskan how I motherfucking play. I got a break down here over the back of the book. Now we're getting the Kenai rolling down the river. Little wind kicks up, tries to make you shiver. You gotta get a halibut from the fucking bay. That's the bottom of the ocean and the way it fucking sways. Now, if you get a dip net, salmon go around town, hit up in the corner of the sandbox town. That's the shit where they gotta roll up on the thin water. Then you understand, yo, you catch them there hotter. That's the shit you dip net, get it kind of rock low, get it in the boat, throw it up, and then it's time to go. Now you got the gut and shit and split on the thick. You don't even understand how the fuck you suck my dick. That's the fucking fish up in the hook up in its mouth where it got so fucked up it couldn't get out. That's the fucking shit we roll when we roll into slime line. Get it on the punch line and do it like every time. Every fucking rap that I flow, I just know. I read a fucking book like 10 seconds and I go. Then you get the rap, you lock it onto the line, you break it down one more time. This is just warm up and practice of how you have to be confident in this game. Next we go to a couple pages here. A little flash. This is the math on it, okay? So as the Earth rotates, the moon goes around. The Earth spins 28,000 miles around. Now that's in the circumference of the equator. So it only moves 6 inches per year later. Now you go up to the north and it's 6 minutes a day. That's where it wraps around and goes back anyway. The tides can be up to 6 feet. Roll it around a 6-foot tide and you get deep. You go down to the Clam Gulch in the bay. You look around and see little buckets as they play. That's when sand goes out and the tide goes so far out that you don't want to be caught in that shit when you're fucking done. 1 second. The beat had a little hiccup. All this information can be obtained at speed read. I don't really read. That's up in my head. I just use the numbers and calculate the rhyme to the moon's rotation and the earth up in its time. Every single time the Earth goes around the moon pulls the tide, and that's the fuck it do. So when you understand, though, you be sitting on a book, you read this, and you wrap it in a mind. Take a look. I tried. So I've got this on a beat, and then I don't know. I might produce that when I get a layer cake. When the new system goes up, I'll do that. Until then, this is just practicing for rhyme. It's something to do for practicing. It's where it's completely improv. I've taught this lesson for years. It's kind of fun. That's not the best warm up. I mean, it's all right, but it's not the best warm up. But you take a random object. This is an Alaska Tide Table book, 2023. I flip through the math, calculate it, try and see what the lowest tides are for the year. And then, so back at this one, this is kind of funny. So it was, I was calculating, so I flash read this, right, like instantly. And then it was, let's see, I don't even know if I got it right, so I'm going to check. Yeah. So, and the bigger fish were in September in first week. So see the size of the fish? So I was able to flash read, memorize from the numbers and pictures more than the actual reading itself. My mind works in a very different fashion than a lot of people. Some people have to train that shit over many, many, many years. I actually taught myself to train myself this shit. These are all kind of what people thought was useless talents back in the day. But I'm just here to let you know, thanks to Sportsman's Warehouse for the random thing I put on there. I know I might cuss in here. I'm not corporate sponsored, you know what I'm saying? I'm not like corporate shiny thing. But this is a local store in Anchorage. It's Alaska Sportsman's Warehouse, and thank you for the timetable. 2023 edition. You know, I'm more of a vulgar kind of dude, and I talk a lot of shit because that's the fuck I do. But people are people, love my people. This is more of a raw, real, uncut. But so for rappers and practicing, what does that do for anybody? Basically, I realized years ago that loop-based things make people intelligent. So it started off on a little TI-82 technology where I'm like, number, right? And I started making loops with phone chimes, okay? And this was 35 years ago, okay? And it started off with little, you can't even display them anymore, but it used to be Kodak cameras. And Kodak cameras had a little timer on there where you'd wind up the flash and it's like, so I'd do like, and that's all it is loops, right? So if you think it doesn't do anything for anybody, and oh, this is just stupid, you're stupid, right? What is the result of that 35 years later? Where does it go? Yeah. To a $1,400 workstation motherboard for a fucking calculator. That's where that shit goes. Okay. So, all of those loops, okay, my memory is fucking beyond recognition, bro. It's a memory, because what is a memory? It's a circuit. And a circuit is a loop. That's where your light switch is off, and there's no loops. And your light switch is on. and that's 60 times a second. 60 times a second. Okay. So if you're wondering what made modern man comfortable, it was the frequency of a loop. Simple things to think about. Inventors like me are just kind of like that. So I just carry on the business. Money doesn't really matter to me because I can understand literally now by myself. I think with that thing, trying to calculate that board when I get it in my hand, I'm calculating by vision how many in-outs are there. And I think we finally stretched the capacity of the human mind memory. I can calculate about all the in-outs on there. I'll know when I get the processor, but it's seriously beyond large. My average memory capacity is around a dictionary of English. It used to be about 12 dictionaries. I could memorize about 12 dictionaries, ebonics, accents, slangs, and these are all going at the same time. So your mind separates them. So ebonics, slangs, characters, mapping, loops, long-term, short-term, numbers, calculations, and what's the other one? There's one other one. Sight. Okay. You'll notice this is a tough one. When dealing in sight mixed with loops, sight is infinite in its regular direction. It's almost never a loop unless you're watching it on a screen. Okay? But the weird part about vision's memory, I have a photographic memory too, but the weird part about vision's memory is even though I'm watching this at 30 frames a second, the problem is the vision doesn't really go in a loop because the image is changing in all sorts of aspects at the same time. Okay? So if you see me close my eyes, okay, I noticed when I close my eyes, that will improve auditory and touch at this point with that kind of calculator. What does that industry do for me? When I close my eyes, it's the difference of about 70 trillion calculations of loops per second, as opposed to opening my eyes. That's what I can calculate processor-wise as opposed to people. That's how large of a difference that is. Because the weird part is your eyes both triangulate to a single point for those loops, which means there's 1-2 calculation from both sides of the brain, okay, to a single point, and then reflected back into my eyes based off of light 60 times a second. So I have to change the trajectory calculator, the point where I'm calculating to, 60 times a second as it goes around the screen, which makes vision 40 times faster to recognize than closing my eyes. That buffer goes down in my mind and improves auditory touch about 40%. So that's the differential you could change. And when they give me calculators like that, my job is to sit and kind of figure that shit out. Like, what does the human mind do when you close your eyes or you open them in high thought capacity? Okay. So I do these little exercises that are damn near impossible, um, just to see how many words come out about a subject. Because the funny thing is, I only look at this about maybe once a year. Okay, so all those really raggedy, shitty memories come out, and you're trying to piece them together, piece them together as fast as you can on a beat. Okay, makes for interesting venues, right? It's all those old memories where you're like, oh no, it's all scattered dust, and I got to put it back together immediately. So it's the same thing as if you go to work and you haven't ridden a bicycle for 20 years. Like, how do I put all this together? That's how fast you can put it together. Okay, so that's what loops can do for you. Okay, it's a good education to learn loops, um, but don't get crazy on it. You know what I mean? Like, loops are repetition for work. You know what I mean? But muscle memory, I believe, is one of the highest values, and unfortunately the hardest to train. Muscle memory is literally the hardest one of them all. Touch out of your fingertips is very fast, but learning the muscle memory down from the stem, um, it almost decreases by 1% about every inch, all the way down up to your head. So it's like 1%. So if this is 1% learning touching, this is 100% deficit of what your mind has to pay attention to, whether it likes it or not. So that's you to your keyboard. And then process that fact, turn it back in, and respond on your fingertips. You think it's instant. It's about half the speed of light. That's what 4K resolution has gotten us to so far. But it's about average response time on a monitor, about 2 milliseconds. And the average response time of a human being, because of that, in indifference to and touch and value, I would say on average is 0.6 milliseconds. Exercise. If you can get faster than that, you're probably a pretty smart kid. Thank you, Productions. Take it easy.